Other things. You recently interviewed Lance Armstrong. I've had him on a few times a long time ago. How do you balance his apparent guilt of juicing up to ride bicycles and win the Legions of Merit and everything they win in France, and all he's done for cancer research?
Here's how I do it, Larry. I don't give a fuck. It's about,
tell me about
it's
that.
about riding a bicycle, something I did when I was 11. I don't care if he's on Honey Boo Boo's Go-Go Juice. I really don't care. He seemed like a nice guy. I know him to hang out with a couple of times. I'm glad he does work for charity. And as far as riding a bicycle and what you have to do it,
But there are rules. It's an athletic competition.
Really, is it? And so is running around the block. It's riding a bicycle, Larry. I can't.
Ride against each other up hills, going.
I don't even care about if the athletes want to do it. I don't care about that either. If you know, if people
want to
watch a roided up millionaire knock each other's heads off, that's what they want to do. That's freedom, Larry. Don't try to take away my freedom, Larry.
So in other words,
that's my freedom to watch it, and that's their freedom to do it.
I'm inclined to agree with you on steroids, but if you want to harm yourself and you know the danger, I don't think the fan cares.
Right. I mean, it's unfair to the other players who don't do it.
Unless they all have the right to do it if they want, right? If you made it legal, then you could do it.
But I've had this argument with Bob Costas about,
me too.
About steroids and
Bob is wacko on this subject.
Well, I mean, he's a purist.
And
when I said my argument with Bob was, I said, there has never been any constancy in the game. What about the fact that up until 1947, they did not have to compete against black players? That changed the game a lot. They used to wear a little mitten. Right? I mean, there was no...
Correct.
You see these gloves now, they're giant. There was no relief pitchers. There was no night games.
No specialists, yeah.
Yeah. So...
Well, I share your view on that.
Okay.
Costas is a purist. Well, I'm a purist in the... I don't like the DH.
I don't like the DH either.
So that's purist. We're purists in that regard.
Well, yes, absolutely. But also the DH really throws the game out of balance. It just does. It's not the way the game is supposed to be played.
There's a story in Newsweek this week, I mentioned cancer and Lance Armstrong, that we spend 100 times more on war than on finding a cure for cancer.
Oh, I'm sure.
As a government. Isn't that weird?
And everything else. I mean, you know, that's the one part of the budget that they don't even want to examine. You know, it's perfect the way it is. Every penny, apparently, according to Mitt Romney. In fact, we should make it even bigger. Really, could we just go line by line and see, do we really need to spend? Because a lot of it is for fighting the Soviets in 1978. That's what a lot of our defense, billions and billions. It's a jobs program, and it's corporate pork. It's for defense contractors. It has nothing to do with actually defending America.
Would you go to war over Iran?
No.
Would you preempt Iran?
Well, I don't know what that means.
Well, would you support Israel if it bombed Iran's nuclear reactor?
Well, I don't know what you mean by support. There's not much we can do if they bomb it.
Would you publicly support
it? You know, I would say they have, I understand the neighborhood that Israel lives in. I understand why they would want to do it. I would also say they may be making a worse case for themselves by doing it. I mean, I do not think that the Iranian regime is insane. I think there are people in Iran who are insane, as there are people everywhere insane. But I don't think that they want to see their nation obliterated, which is, they must know what would happen if they ever tried anything. And if they did try to obliterate Iran, I would certainly support us retaliating for Israel.
We have done a two-parter. Our last part of our two-parter is coming up, and we have questions
and the cliffhanger.
The cliffhanger for Bill after this. We're back with our remaining moments with Bill Maher. We have some social media questions for you. But you're going back into acting, huh? You're going into acting.
What?
You're going to be a guest on an upcoming episode of The Good Wife.
No. Oh, Larry, who gives you this bullshit?
I have wrong information?
Acting. You know, people, I've
been in 22 movies, but I play myself.
That's exactly. That's what I'm doing. I'm playing you. No, I'm doing exactly what you've done.
It's not acting.
I'm lending verisimilitude
to
a production. But no, I would never go back to. Are you kidding? Getting up in the morning, putting on makeup, memorizing lines. Ugh.
Facebook and Twitter questions. Andy Hoffman on Facebook wants to know your favorite United States president.
George Washington.
Really?
Well, there would be no others without him. I mean, George Washington truly earned that name, the father of our country.
Could have been king. Right?
Could have been king. I mean, that's only one of the great things he did. But, you know, he also just had the knowledge when he was fighting the Revolutionary War that we could never defeat the British militarily. But as long as he kept that army alive, as long as they just existed, there was the hope. It was hanging by the thinnest of threads, and he did that. He only fought 9 battles in the Revolutionary War, and he only won 3. But he kept that army going. He just kept running, but he kept them alive.
Well taken. My account 101 wants to know, what do you think George W. Bush's presidency would have looked like without Katrina or 9/11? Successful or unsuccessful? Hard to, that's hard to answer.
Well, you know, you say, gee, what would Bush be like if Bush wasn't a giant fuck-up? Less of a giant fuck-up. I mean, he still would have, you know, completely rat-fucked the economy. He still, you know, he still would have passed, I'm sure, his tax cuts for the rich and not paid for anything, which pretty much put us into the economic hole that we're in.
Tom Sampson on Facebook, what do you view as your greatest achievement on the air and your greatest regret?
My greatest achievement is staying on, which is 20 years now, basically. Next year, I mean, this year was my 20th year, if you add
ABC.
Politically Incorrect plus Real Time.
You have a regret?
I have regrets every Friday night after the show. I mean, I never understand these people who say, I have no regrets. Like, are you human? How could you not have regrets? I mean,
of course.
I always feel like I could do something better. I feel like I could, in fact, the question you asked me in the last segment about a rant, I could so do that question better right now. I regret 5 minutes ago, Larry. That's how much I regret.
You did screw up that answer.
Yeah, I really
But it's
did.
okay. Well, maybe we'll let it out, maybe we won't. Okay. I love you, Bill. J. Michael on Facebook wants to know, do you believe atheism is a religion?
Of course not.
Well, it's a group with a common belief.
No, it's not. We did a whole, you know what, look up, I'm sure you can somehow look up on your Google or one of your technological innovations there, the editorial we did at the end, at the end of our show about 6 months ago or a year ago, we answered this question better than I could now, because I worked on it very hard that week, this nonsense that atheism is a religion. Atheism is a religion, I think we said, like abstinence is a sex position. It's a stupid question. And I liked it better when the questions came over, you know, we could hear them in our headset with the callers.
Okay,
Des Moines, you're on the air.
This is a good question.
I missed that.
Morrissey 59 wants to know about your childhood. What shaped your social and political views, do you think? What was
my parents, I think. You know, I mean, my father was a newsman in radio newsman.
Mutual Radio Network.
Mutual Network, yes, you know it well. And so politics was something that was discussed in my house, unlike, I think, most American families. I think European families, you know, that's a cafe society. They don't watch TV. They sit in cafes and talk to each other. Crazy idea. It was a little more like what my household was like. We did talk about politics, and I knew what was going on, and I took an interest early on.
Do you text?
Of course.
Why? It's so impersonal. Why do you?
Texting is the innovation I love the most.
Because you can cop out.
I never liked... I never liked talking on the phone that much, you know. I never liked yammering on the phone with people. And if you have something to say, it's like you just say it in a few little words, get the message across.
But there's no personal...
Well, that's for later. I'll meet you later, and then you have the personal.
Bill, as always.
Great to see you, Larry. I missed you.
Man. Me too. I miss
Okay.
you. Thanks to my guest, Bill Maher. His show, Real Time with Bill Maher, weekly on HBO, and you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. See you next time on Larry King Now.